here we are live, but I'm also recording this over here just to make sure that we get it on thing. Okay, hello, good afternoon. I'm here, I'm so excited. I'm here with one of my parenting heroes, Payne Bryson, and we're at the WAKE conference, the Western Association of Independent Camps, and Tina gave our keynote yesterday, and it was, I mean, life-changing for all of us, not only thinking about working with our counselors at our camps, but also in our own families, with our spouses. There are so many great things. So anyway, her book that she wrote with Daniel Siegel is The Yes Brain. It's coming out on January 9th. Okay.
We're so excited.
I am so excited too. And I got this special pre-uncorrected copy and started reading it last night and already love it. If you're not familiar with her books, hers and Daniel's books, they've written The Whole Brain Child and No Drama Discipline. Yep. These books, if you aren't one who likes to read parenting books, they're so easy to read. They have cartoons. They have the refrigerator thing in the back.
Yeah.
So even if you don't read the book, you can open the cheat sheet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're really fabulous. So if you read any parenting book in 2018, this is the one. And it's perfect at the beginning of the year. So you can pre-order it now, and we'll put a link in the comments to where to pre-order it. But I just have Tina here for a few minutes, and what I thought, there were two things that I wanted her to share with you because I think it was really helpful to me. I want you to talk about just how to view problem behavior in our children.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. We have all this science that tells us what we should be doing in the name of discipline, what really works to change behavior. But most of what we do in the name of discipline and changing behavior makes no sense if you really understand how the brain works. And so one of the things that Dan and I are really excited about doing is rethinking discipline, rethinking how we view kids' behaviors. And anytime I say kids, it could really be applied to any age, even our significant others. But rethinking behavior, yes, especially them, and rethinking how we respond. So here's the deal. The whole point of discipline is to help kids become self-disciplined, to be really great human beings in the world even when no one's looking.
Right.
And that requires a lot of time and patience letting development unfold, but it also means that our job is to teach them how to do that. And so actually, if you go back to the original meaning of the word discipline, the roots of the word, it's actually to teach and to skill build.
Right.
Most of us, when we think about discipline, think about punishment. That's kind of the association we have. So one of the things that I'm really excited about doing, and I know you are with me in this, is to create a cultural shift around how we start thinking about how the misbehaviors, the behaviors that drive us crazy or that really worry us are really our children's way of communicating to us the areas they still need skill building.
Right.
So basically, you know, if there's a behavior like being really reactive, let's say they get really angry, they're really reactive, they say disrespectful things like, I hate you, and our instinct is to say, you can't talk to me like that, which is actually a really dumb thing to say because they just did.
And they probably will say it again.
And they will.
Right after you say that.
They can. So to say, okay, so I get mad in that moment, but when I can pause and think about it, and approach with curiosity instead of just making assumptions, like the assumptions I might have that I might carry in that moment would be something like, my child is spoiled, you know, and if he doesn't learn to treat people well, and I start going to all these fear places as a parent, where eventually if I chase that out long enough, my child lives in a van down by the river and, you know, can't function in society. If I kind of do that fear-based parenting, which is a lot of our reactive discipline, I think, is in response to fear. It's fear-based parenting, and it's not about being in the present moment. So if we can just replace those assumptions like my child's spoiled or they're so immature or they're so disrespectful, whatever we do in the moment, instead to pause and to approach with curiosity and say, okay, so what was that about? Okay, my child just showed me something. Now, I'm not saying this is easy to do in the moment. In the moment, we get really reactive. But if we can pause and then later go, okay, my child just told me something. Their behavior communicated that they don't yet consistently have the skill to pause before saying something disrespectful or to kind of regulate those emotions. And so then our job as disciplinarians is to help build those skills and to help teach. And that's kind of really a whole reframing. And I think just one other thing about that is the brain is either in a reactive state or it's in a receptive state. And when the brain is in a reactive state, it actually cannot learn. It's really the opposite. We're in this reactive state. So in order to be effective disciplinarians, our children's brains have to be in a receptive state.
Right.
And usually when a big misbehavior is happening, that's not the time.
Right.
Timing is everything. And so in the name of discipline, one of the first things I might have to do is to get my kid calm so that I can be an effective disciplinarian.
Right.
And of course, I mean teacher when I say that.
Right, right. And no matter how bad the behavior is. This is the thing. Even some of your examples last night were just very clear that even no matter what it is, if they're completely angry or crazy about whatever, you can't talk to them no matter how bad the behavior was.
The part of their brain that processes words and can actually, the inner ear, I actually didn't even talk about this last night. This is Stephen Porges's work. When you go into a really reactive state, your inner ear actually changes in a way that it's hard to even hear the human voice. So even processing, parents tell me all the time, and you've heard this too, like my kid won't listen to me until I'm screaming at them. And it's like when we're in that threat reactive state, we can't process logical information, and we might not even be able to process auditory input unless it's threatening, because the brain will always pay attention when there's something threatening.
But then even that, I think you get desensitized to. If someone's yelling at you too much, then you're just over it.
And it makes you more reactive often, which makes it less likely you can learn. It's counterproductive to yell at our kids, to spank them, to humiliate them, to punish them, to do these kinds of things. Actually just leads them into more reactive states. It's counterproductive.
Right, they can't even learn. Well, it's interesting because I love the way you framed it, and when your book is going to be so helpful because it's about not just our kids learning about getting them into that, what you call the green zone, which is the time that they can learn and process whatever they need to learn.
Even if they have big emotions, if they're staying in that green zone, they're good.
But it's also a lot about us. And that's the part and I think this is one thing, because I know you work with other people's children.
Yep.
And at camp, I work with other people's children. And I've always said, I find it a lot easier 100%. With other people's children because it's somehow we're so caught up in our kids and feel like there's some kind of reflection on us. And so when they do something, it's like we have this visceral reaction. And so
it triggers fear in
us.
Yeah.
And so all your things, the yes brain. So first of all, the yes brain is not just about getting our kids to have yes brains. It's about the people we work with and ourselves. And I think honestly, like all things that I've found in parenting, it's modeling it.
It is.
If our kids see that we're angry about something and then we say, okay, you know what? I need to kind of calm down and get myself into the green zone or whatever we want to call it. I need to calm down.
Yeah.
And they see us, I'm going to breathe for a few minutes or I need to go for a run so they see strategies that we're learning, that our kids are learning an important thing, that yes, we all get out of our green zone.
Yes.
But we have to figure out how to get back in.
And I think, clinically, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and clinically when I've seen kids who are really struggling, they have a lot of really reactive behaviors and they're getting in trouble at school. A lot of times, actually, the most important intervention is working with the parents, not with the kid, because what happens is the kid starts to get into a reactive state and it's contagious. So the parent goes there too, and it just stirs the child's reactivity even greater. So for me, really almost always one of the starting points is to help support parents to do the self-care and sometimes even the professional intervention that's required. But for me, I know I need sleep, I need exercise, I need fun time with my friends away from my kids. And if I don't get those, I can't stay as regulated, stay as green. So for me, it's really about, when stuff comes up with our kids asking, is my child in a receptive state? Are they ready to learn? But am I ready to teach? Am I in that green zone? And we have to get there. And you know what? When we mess up, it can be really valuable for our kids, thank God, right?
Yeah.
As long as we repair, as long as we go back and we say, you know what, I really didn't handle myself well, know? And I remember my 3-year-old one time after I yelled at him and scared him, he started to cry and he said, you didn't make a good choice. And I was like, yes, you were right. And so I think that's key, is that, we don't have to be perfect. It's good that we're not perfect, because if we were so lovely and wonderful all the time, the world would be a pretty terrifying place. Our kids get practice tolerating kind of some chaos and reactivity in the world in a safe environment. But the key is to model it ourselves, and including the modeling repair and when we do mess up.
Oh my gosh, so important. And I loved, you mentioned something, and I just heard this recently, and I shared it with my kids about how when we look back on our childhoods, you kind of remember kind of how your parents were about 70% of the time.
Yeah.
And so I've been joking with my kids that like when I say something wrong, that's one of the 30%.
Which 70?
Yeah. They're just like, so
Yeah.
it's like if you're loving and supportive,
Yeah.
and, most of the time you like try to calm down before you deal with things. Then those times that it goes wrong, you repair it.
For sure.
And know that our kids are resilient, and just like we had imperfect parents, and they had their moments, but we reflect on the good, anyway. So it's just, I love just the hopeful message of their book.
So much.
Oh
hope.
my gosh. And just that there's still time with, with
for
our
us
kids.
too.
Yeah. For us as adults, we could still learn, our kids can learn,
Yeah.
all of our relationships can be better. So anyway, I think she has to go teach another session right now at the conference. And so thank you so much for being on here. Again, this is the Yes Brain. I'm probably going to invite Tina on for a longer podcast episode once the book is out, but I'll put a link in the comments. For sure, get online. Order your copy. It's not even that long of a book, people.
And you know what?
And it has cartoons in it. So a lot of the pages you don't even have to read. You can just, if you're not a reader, you can flip through the cartoons.
That's right.
Is it going to be an audio?
It will be an audio.
Okay.
In fact, Dan and I both go into the studio the week after Thanksgiving to do the voices, to read the stories and read the book. And really what this book is Dan and I kind of pulling together the answer to this question, the question of what is it our kids most need in order to thrive in the world and to be successful? And that's what this book is an answer to that question. And we focus on 4 main things, which are balance, which is about green zone and staying emotionally balanced, and a balanced life, resilience, insight, and empathy. And we talk about how to promote those things in ourselves as well. It turns out that all of those things are functions of the middle prefrontal cortex, which takes the longest to develop. So we have the longest period to influence it and even change it ourselves. Awesome. So we're really excited about this book, and really the answer to almost everything is going to be about relationships and all the interpersonal neurobiology stuff. But we're really excited to share it with the world.
Oh my gosh! And side note, I know we're supposed to be. We would talk to go.
Yeah.
Okay, but side note, this morning's talk was about the research they're doing at camps. And they're just in the very preliminary stages. So they were just trying to figure out what are the things that they're looking for. So they did some interviews with sort of the kind of the shoe-in people. They were first-year counselors who had been campers at a whole bunch of different camps.
Awesome.
But they did these qualitative interviewing with them and asked them kind of what is it from camp that have been the distinct things that you got at camp, not other places.
Right.
And across the board, relationships.
Yeah.
So your synergy, your message with camps, and I know your passion for camp. So that'll be our podcast episode. It'll be about your thoughts on camp and how camps help promote all these things. But when the research was there, I was like, you should have heard Tina, because one of the things was also self-regulation.
Yeah. Oh,
they were saying that you learn that at camp too, and that I was thinking about how our counselors can help.
Yeah.
Anyway, she really has to go. So thank you, those of you. I see there's 5 of you online. Have a good session, Tina. I see some people. Thanks for coming, everybody. We have to get going, but we will do a podcast. And her book is so great, and all of her books are great. They're already can get Whole Brain Child and No Drama Discipline. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.